All right, now just like the other sections, we're going to go over a few cloud concepts to help us prepare for what we're going to be learning in this next section. So in this section, these cloud concepts, they're really about harnessing the power of the cloud. And we're really going to start getting into some of the big benefits of running things on the cloud. In some of the earlier sections, we're looking at how do we do virtualization in AWS, and we're basically getting the equivalent of what we're doing on premises and just putting it in AWS. So for this section, we really get to start harnessing the power of the cloud. How can we change our application architecture because we're running in the cloud? And we get to do some really powerful, really cool stuff. So the first cloud concept we're going to be talking about is high availability. High availability, it means that we're going to be maximizing the amount of uptime of a given system. AWS, it helps us maintain high availability in a few different ways. There are tools to help us distribute workloads across multiple availability zones and even potentially regions. So that helps us by reducing the single point of failure. And if we have a specific availability zone or a region that gets affected by something like an earthquake or a power outage or something like that, we can distribute the workload to a nearby availability zone so that way we still maintain our application in the event of a disaster. There's also these built-in automated fault tolerance to our systems, so that way that it helps us recover in the event of a disaster or an outage. Scalability is about being able to grow our workload to be able to match a growing amount of demand. So when we have our user, we have that one request that goes to an EC2 instance, okay? But let's say that we have multiple users. We need to have something in place that will allow us to grow a workload so we can handle that higher number of requests. And similarly, when we have lots and lots of users, we have to have something in place that will allow us to handle all of those requests. So there's two types of scalability we're going to be talking about in this course. We're going to go ahead and start with vertical scaling, which is also known as scaling up. So scaling up, or vertical scaling, it's about the instance itself getting larger as the workload grows. So we have the user, we have that one request that's going to a T2 micro, which is a small EC2 instance. But then once we have multiple users, we're going to scale up to an M5 medium, which is a bigger EC2 instance. And then finally, once we have lots and lots of users, then we have that really big M5 24x large that we're going to be using. So there are a few downsides to this method. We still have that single point of failure, where if that one EC2 instance that's handling it, even if it's a really, really big EC2 instance, it can still go down. It's still only one single point of failure, so that's one of the problems. It's really complex to actually change the instance on the fly, and that's going to be one of the really big downsides here. We're always going to be limited by hardware, where even though the limits for hardware are quite large in AWS, there still is a limit. And it makes it so that there is some point where we just can't scale anymore. So there is some upward limit to vertical scaling here in AWS. AWS can do this with something called AWS Ops Automator. It works by restarting the instance with a new size, and then it basically just replaces the instance with an instance of a new size. I will let you know that this is out of scope for the CCP exam, so we're not going to be talking anymore really about vertical scaling or AWS Ops Automator throughout the course. So we also have horizontal scaling, also known as scaling out. Scaling out works by increasing the number of EC2 instances as the workload grows. So we have our user, we have that one instance, and then as we grow the number of users, we also grow the number of EC2 instances to handle that larger number of requests. So it can be set up to provide high availability, which is a big advantage over vertical scaling. In AWS, we do this with auto scaling groups and elastic load balancers, which we're going to be learning about in this next section. Now, the last cloud concept that we have for this section is elasticity. And it's similar to, but very different from, scalability. Let's go over that. So with elasticity, we're trying to match our workload in order to meet our changing demand. So it's not just focused on growing it to meet growing demand. Let's see what that looks like. When we have one user, we have a small request, it goes to our EC2 instance. As we have a larger number of users, as you may guess, we're going to have a number of instances in order to handle that request. Now, look, what happens when we go back to that single user? Let's say that this is a day-night cycle sort of a thing, where during the nighttime we have a very low workload, and then during the daytime users log in, they start to access their applications, and then we have to scale our workload. And then now it's nighttime again. We don't want to have all of those EC2 instances active, so we scale it back down to meet our lowest operating capacity. So this is the difference between having something that's in the cloud and having something that's on premises. So when we think about on premises, we are committing to purchasing. We have in that data center a physical rack, a physical piece of hardware that's serving that infrastructure. We have to make sure that that infrastructure, that physical hardware, it matches what we think our top end is going to be as far as on the scalability side, right? And so what that means is if we have a nighttime, we still have that rack that's running. We still have that server that's running that we're paying for regardless of our workload. So when we think about in the cloud, what we can do is we can match our workload with our demand and dynamically, very quickly adjust. So that way that we're only paying for what we're actually using for, and we don't have this sunk cost of this hardware where we're really just hoping that it matches what our demand is. This wraps up the intro to Elastic Load Balancers and auto scaling groups. Now we're going to move on to Elastic Load Balancers.